Revealed, Billionaire spends 2 years as a humble tomato seller to discover amazing true love. Jack Reynolds stood behind a wooden cart piled high with ripe, red tomatoes, his heart racing with an exhilarating mix of fear and freedom. He had traded his designer suits and penthouse apartment for an apron and a small stall in the bustling farmers' market of Willow Creek, a picturesque town that felt like a scene pulled straight from a postcard. The smell of earth and sun-ripened fruit filled the air as locals waved hello, a sharp contrast to the hollow greetings of the city. Here, he was, Jake, just another humble seller among farmers and families. As he arranged the crimson tomatoes with care, Jack couldn't help but wonder, could this be the antidote to the emptiness that plagued his billionaire lifestyle? He watched the laughter and chatter of the townsfolk around him, the kind he had never had in New York. His gaze landed on Maria, the single mother who owned the diner next door, her warm smile brightening the day for anyone who ventured inside. The way she juggled her responsibilities and still laughed at the absurdities of life captivated him. In her presence, he felt a sense of belonging he'd never experienced among the elite. Days turned into weeks filled with shared dreams and laughter over steaming cups of coffee. Every morning they sold tomatoes and homemade salsa while her children scampered around, their giggles infusing the air with joy. Jack found himself reveling in the simple pleasure of people, forgetting about board meetings, corporate takeovers, and the weight of expectations. He was free, alive, awakening to the little wonders of life: the chirping of birds, the vibrant colors of the market, the smell of fresh bread wafting from the bakery down the street. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as their relationship blossomed, Jack's facade weighed heavily on his conscience. The prospect of revealing his true identity loomed like dark clouds, threatening the light he had found. One fateful night under a canopy of stars, emotions spilled out like the salsa they'd made together. Just when he thought he might take a leap of faith, Jack discovered that secrets don't stay buried forever. During the annual town fair, a woman blurted out something she shouldn't have, sending shockwaves through the community. The whispers grew loud, with words of betrayal cutting deeper than he anticipated. Friendship turned to suspicion, and hearts that had once embraced him now felt hardened against his deceit. Maria's eyes held disappointment that pierced his soul. He had not only betrayed her but endangered the trust built with the townsfolk. The laughter faded, leaving a heavy silence hanging in the air, suffocating the hopeful dreams they'd shared. The love he had wanted to nourish now threatened to shatter, leaving him at a crossroads. In that moment of heartache, Jack knew he had to make a choice: risk it all to confess and embrace a love worth fighting for, or retreat into the shadows of his past, forever haunted by the light that had once filled him. Would he muster the courage to stand before Maria and lay bare his heart, unmasking not just the billionaire but the real man who had fallen for the beauty of love in its purest form? The air bristled with tension, as decisions lay heavy, leaving both Jack and Maria poised on the edge of change. Jack stood there, heart pounding, every second stretching painfully long. The vibrant sounds of the fair, filled with laughter and music, faded into a dull hum. All he could hear was the wind whispering around him, carrying the weight of his shame. He felt small and lost amid the colorful stalls and cheerful families enjoying their day. But the reality was that he had shattered something beautiful with his lie. Maria's expression loomed over him, an emotional storm of disappointment mixed with betrayal. As he turned his gaze to her, every fiber of his being screamed for him to confess. The warmth in her eyes had become cold, and it threatened to freeze the very essence of his newfound happiness. He wanted nothing more than to step forward, but how could he? How could he strip away everything they had built together in these past months? In the flickering glow of the fair lights, he noticed how her children were playing nearby, oblivious to the tension, their laughter like music to his ears. Their joy sparked a flicker of hope within him. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could salvage this. He understood now that the love he had for Maria wasn't just about their shared moments selling tomatoes. It was about a future they could build together, even with the past looming behind him. But as he took a step toward her, doubt clawed at his heart. What if she couldn't forgive him? What if the townsfolk turned their backs on him forever, unable to accept the truth? What would he be without her? A tomatoless cart, a hollow shell of the man who had once lived under high rises, surrounded by the emptiness of wealth. Gathering his courage, Jack approached Maria, who stood firm, arms crossed and eyes still fixed on the bustling fair. Deep inside, he understood that he was fighting not just for their relationship but for her trust and the community that had so graciously welcomed him. "Maria," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Can we talk?" At the sound of his voice, Maria turned, her eyes flashing with emotions that cut deeper than he anticipated. "What's there to talk about, Jake?" She used the name he adopted, the name that made him feel like he could belong. "You've built your life on lies." Jack swallowed hard, determined to dig beneath the surface of her words. I know I've made a mistake. But there's so much more to me than what you've heard. I didn't come here to deceive you or anyone else. I came here to find myself, to be free." Her brows knitted tightly, the hurt still fresh. Jack's heart raced like a runaway train. "You opened my eyes to love, to laughter, and belonging. I've never had that before." He took another step forward. The space between them felt like an ocean. "I never wanted to hurt you. I fell for you, Maria, not just as Jake but as me. And I'm scared of losing you." The silence that followed seemed heavy, almost suffocating. Jack could see her considering every word, weighing their meaning against the trust that had been shattered. Finally, Maria sighed, her stance loosening slightly. "Jack, I want to believe you, but it's hard. You've hidden who you are. How can I trust you now?" Jack took a deep breath, his heart racing in tempo with the stakes of his confession. "Then let me show you, let me prove to you who I really am. Give me a chance to earn back that trust." The weight of their unresolved emotions hung in the air, neither willing to back down but yearning for a bridge to be built. Would Maria's heart thaw to the man he truly was? "Jack, I don't know," Maria started, uncertain. "Please," he implored, desperation clear in his voice. "Just let me try." As he held her gaze, the flickering lights of the fair behind them started to blend into distant colors, and the soft murmur of the crowd faded into a single heartbeat echoing between them. But as their eyes met, a crashing sound suddenly shattered the moment, pulling their attention away from one another. What had just happened? Was this the moment that would change everything for them, or a signal that the storm was just beginning? Jack's heart lurched as the sound of shattering glass echoed through the fairground. He turned instinctively, the frantic energy around him solidifying into focus. A stall on the edge of the fair had collapsed, colorful jars of preserves spilling out like marbles across the ground. People shouted, their laughter turning into panicked chatter. Maria's gaze shifted from him to the chaos, her worry clearly reflected in her wide eyes. "The kids!" she exclaimed, spinning around to locate her children amidst the crowd. Jack felt a surge of urgency. This was no longer just about them, it was about protecting the little lives that brought so much joy to Maria's world. "Stay here," he urged, but Maria was already moving. She dashed toward her children, who were frozen in place, wide-eyed and staring at the wreckage. Jack followed closely, weaving through a growing crowd of onlookers. He wanted to scream for everyone to back away, to give them space, to keep the children safe. As he reached Maria, she knelt beside her kids, enveloping them in her arms. The sound of her calming words pierced through the chaos. "It's okay, my loves. Stay close to me. You're safe." Jack watched her, a fierce protectiveness ignited within him. In this moment, he saw not just a woman he had fallen for, but a mother fiercely defending her own, but his resolve wavered, uncertainty gnawing at him. While Maria held her children, Jack felt the distance between them grow. They were both physically close but emotionally miles apart, each lost in their fears. "Maria," he said, desperation echoing in his voice, "I want to help." She looked up at him, quick, sharp eyes that seemed to pierce through his bravado. "Help how? You can't just erase what you've done, Jack. You can't pretend it never happened just because the ground shook." Her words struck like lightning, he was reminded of the truth he had almost forgotten in the midst of her comforting embrace. He wasn't Jake, the man weaving dreams beneath the stars anymore. Right now, he was the man who had lied. Before Jack could reply, a figure emerged from the crowd, their expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. It was Sam, the owner of the stall that had fallen, rushing over, his face flushed with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. It's my fault, I should have tightened the bolts. I didn't think it would happen." Jack felt a pang of empathy for the man, his heart aching under the weight of collective disappointment. "It's all right, Sam. We've got to just clear this up and make sure everyone's okay first." Together, they began helping to move the jars and restore order, taking action amid chaos. Yet, every time he glanced at Maria, that monumental barrier loomed in the background, a wall built of pain, uncertainty, and disappointment. As he worked alongside Sam, Jack thought about his next steps. How could he rebuild that connection with Maria? Would this catastrophe allow him to step back into her good graces, or further entrench the divide? Finally, once the mess started to resemble any kind of normality, Jack wiped sweat from his brow and approached Maria. She still held her children tightly and hadn't taken her eyes off him since he started helping. You actually helped," she whispered, her trembling voice breaking ever so slightly. "I'm trying to show you I'm here," he said softly. "Each moment, every effort. I'm fighting for us." There was hope in her eyes now. But it flickered, close to extinguishing with doubt. "Jack, this situation matters. But is it enough?" Before he could respond, laughter erupted nearby. Jack and Maria turned their heads to see another booth, where a magician was drawing an eager crowd. The laughter mixed with rising music from the fair. Once again, the vibrant energy of the fair returned, contrasting with the storm brewing inside. But would laughter echo through their hearts again? Jack stood frozen, aware that their moment was fragile. In a world where he destines to confront his past, would they emerge stronger, or would the scars prove too much to bear? "Let us keep talking," he said, determination igniting in his core. "We can't walk into the future without honestly confronting the past." As he spoke, he hoped he had planted the first seed of a renewed trust. Was it enough to pull them through together? Or would their history continue to haunt them like shadows in the night? The sounds of the fair seemed distant, a whirlwind of color and laughter that felt worlds away from the heavy emotions swirling around Jack and Maria. He could see her kids, still clutching her, eyes wide with a blend of fear and the lingering excitement of the fair. Jack knew he had to press on, to bridge that gap Maria had so forcefully illustrated. "Can we find a quieter spot?" Jack suggested, his voice steady but low. "I want to talk, really talk." He saw a flicker of uncertainty pass through her eyes. With a hesitant nod, Maria gathered her children and they stepped away from the crowd's chaos, heading for a nearby picnic table illuminated by strings of twinkling lights. The kids clung to her, still shaken, as they settled in the wooden benches. Jack watched Maria, her frame tense and protective. He caught a glimpse of her vulnerability where once he only saw strength. "We've faced storms," he began, searching for the right words, "but we can also face the calm together, if you let me." Maria sighed heavily, glancing away. "I wish it felt so simple, Jack. You think showing up here today fixes everything? I don't know if you can ever really get what you took from us." His heart sank at her words. The weight of what he had done loomed large, and he had no quick fix. "It's me who took everything," he admitted, his cheeks burning with shame. "But I can try. I want to try. Every day, I want to be someone who can what?" She interrupted sharply, the flare of her emotions filling the air like static. "Who can just erase the past? You can't make promises to be a better man because everything you did is tied to the person you are now. It remains." Jack flinched, the truth of her words cutting deep, yet beneath it all, he felt a flicker of defiance. "I know I can't go back and change it, but I can show you, through actions. I can wake up every morning believing I can be different. I can learn. I can grow. The sincerity in his voice seemed to create a small opening, a moment where time paused. She looked at him, her gaze piercing yet softened as if she were seeing him for the first time again. "But what if you don't?" Maria whispered, her voice trembling. "What if this is just another facade? I can't expose my children to that pain again. They matter more than anything to me." "I understand," he replied, emotion thick in his throat. "I wouldn't ask you to expose them. I just want to show you that I'm not the same man I was. Today proved to me that I care about more than just myself. I want to be worthy. For you and for your kids." The air crackled between them, a cocktail of hope and fear. Maria's brows knitted together, and he could see the conflict churning within her. "I need to trust you," she breathed. But trust is hard to build after it's shattered. Deep down, Jack sensed the fragile thread of hope like a lifeline tossed in a sea of uncertainty. "Then let us build it. Together. Brick by brick. We can come back from this." A soft smile curled at the corners of her lips, turning the weight of despair into something lighter. It was a glimpse of possibility, like the first break of dawn after a long, dark night. "Can we start with small things?" Jack suggested, his heart pounding in anticipation. "You tell me what scares you the most about me, and I'll show you how I can change that. Just give me a chance." Maria's gaze fell to her children, still wrapped around her like a security blanket. He watched her wrestle with her decision. Finally, she nodded slowly, her expression still cautious but willing. "Okay. Small, I can do." Hope surged within him, a flame igniting in the depths of doubt. Would this be the first step towards healing, or was it just another straw in the wind? As laughter once again spilled from the crowd, Jack felt the promise of a new beginning flicker in the air. Yet, uncertainty threaded through the moment. How would they navigate this journey together? And as Maria met his eyes, one question loomed large: could they truly redefine their paths without erasing the scars of their past? As the kids became a little more engrossed in a game of tag with another pair of children, Maria turned her focus fully on Jack. She seemed to brace herself, the tension in her shoulders finally showing signs of easing, even if just a bit. This was the first step, he hoped, on a long road. "What scares me the most?" she repeated, her eyes narrowing in thought. "It's not just one thing, Jack. It's the uncertainty of it all. Every day, I wake up wondering if today will be a good day or if the past is going to rear its head and knock us off our feet again." Jack nodded. It was a brutal honesty that he admired. "I can't promise there won't be hard days," he said, keeping his voice soft. "But I want you to see me trying to turn things around. I can't erase the past, but I can help us navigate whatever comes next, together." She sighed, the weight of an invisible burden setting deeper into her bones. "This isn't just about us, you know. It's about the kids. They've already seen too much." He glanced at them, their laughter ringing clear against the backdrop of the fair. "I get that. I will make the right choices, not just for me, but for them too. I want them to have better days ahead." A flicker of doubt crossed her face. "But can you really change? I've seen people say they would, only to let others down again." The honesty of her skepticism cut through him like a winter breeze. "I have a lot to prove, and I know that," he said, lowering his voice. "But I see the world so differently now. It's like looking through a new lens, Maria. I was so focused on myself before, but now I want to prove that I'm capable of being someone who puts you and the kids first." The shifting colors of the fair reflected on her face, illuminating the turmoil. "You're saying all the right things, Jack. But words are easy, actions are hard." "I accept that challenge," he replied passionately, realizing how important this moment was. "Let us start small. It could be as easy as joining you and the kids for a picnic or doing something that makes them smile. I'll earn your trust back, drop by drop." "Okay," she relented, her voice still a quiet whisper. "But if you ever let us down again, it will be the end of everything." "Understood," he said firmly, feeling the gravity of her words sinking in like stones. I won't waste this chance. They paused, the thumping pulse of the fair fading into a gentle hum. Maria looked down at her children, their delight a beacon of hope. Jack watched, too, feeling the knot of anticipation tighten in his stomach. Can we start with your favorite ice cream stand? He asked, trying to lighten the mood. I hear their chocolate chip is to die for, and I'd love to see your kids' excited faces when they try it. It's got to be the right kind of small step, huh? A small smile broke through the clouds of anxiety shadowing her face. Okay, ice cream sounds achievable. But remember, Jack. One misstep and this will be the shortest trial period ever. Deal, he replied, feeling a swell of hope. They stood up, ready to break the tension, fingers dancing nervously at their sides. Yet, just as they were about to move, Maria hesitated, turning to him once more. What happens if I actually start to trust you again? She asked, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Jack saw the possibilities unfurling before him, like the bright colors of the Ferris wheel above. Then I'll show you what it means to have someone who's here for the long haul. You won't be alone in this anymore. The kids' laughter rang out again, infectious and bright. Maria's eyes sparkled slightly as she caught her younger one glancing back, waiting eagerly. But deep in her gaze was still that question, was Jack truly ready for this journey? As they walked toward the ice cream stand, hope tinged with trepidation settled around them, swirling like fairground lights. Could they begin to weave a new reality together, one fragile thread at a time? The vibrant colors of the fair buzzed around them as Jack and Maria made their way toward the ice cream stand, the joyous sounds of kids playing wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Jack stole a glance at Maria, trying to decipher the smile that danced on her lips. Was it genuine happiness or simply a momentary relief? The uncertainty gnawed at him, but he pushed it away. Today was about new beginnings, however small. When they reached the stand, he caught sight of the menu, each flavor as bright as the next. His mouth watered at the thought of sinking his teeth into that chocolate chip ice cream he had promised. He turned to the kids who were now bouncing on their toes, nearly vibrating with excitement. Who wants chocolate chip? He asked, feeling his own enthusiasm rise as their hands shot up in unison. I do. I do. The youngest exclaimed, his voice a perfect mix of anticipation and joy. Maria stepped closer, her arm brushing against his as she watched her children with a mixture of love and caution. You're really doing this, aren't you? She said, her tone light, yet laced with an underlying thread of seriousness. I want to, he replied, sincerity pouring from him. This day, it matters. As they placed their order, Jack felt a flicker of warmth settle in his chest. Maybe this small act of sharing ice cream could mean more than it appeared, an icebreaker, a step towards something greater. When the server handed them their cones, Jack's heart raced at the sight of Maria's kids relishing in their delight. Their laughter sliced through the crowd noise, a melody that brought a smile to his face. Holding his cone triumphantly, he knelt down to meet them at eye level. Are you ready? Yes. They shouted together. All right. First bite on 3. 1, 2, 3. The kids took big, enthusiastic bites, their faces lighting up with the sweet explosion of flavor. Jack looked over at Maria, her smile now wide and genuine, a rare glimpse that rekindled a sense of hope in him. She seemed to relax, if only for a moment, as she watched her children savor the moment. See? He said, a grin breaking out across his face. Simple joys. This is what I want to keep doing. I can finally see it, Jack, Maria whispered, her eyes shining brighter than the colorful lights swinging around the fair. I just hope you won't pull back when the challenges come. He reached out, gently taking her hand. It felt both familiar and new. No more hiding. We face everything together. But just then, their moment of connection was interrupted. A shattering sound echoed through the fair, drawing their attention to a nearby game booth where an argument had erupted over a prize. Jack's heart sank. He could feel the tension rise in Maria, a flinch passing through her body. What if that's a glimpse of what's to come? She said softly, her voice barely audible over the chaos. Hey, he breathed, squeezing her hand for reassurance. Remember what I said? One step at a time. Let us not let chaos steal our day. As they resumed enjoying their ice cream, fragments of laughter and shouts blended with sounds of the fair. The kids' joy rang true, and Maria's glimmer of hope sparked something deep within Jack. But in that moment, he couldn't shake off the foreboding feelings that threat loomed on the edges, like shadows creeping in at dusk. Would they truly be able to navigate this together? Just as they took their final bites, Maria's phone buzzed. She looked down, her face paling instantly. I need to take this, she said, her voice suddenly serious as she stepped away. Jack's heart sank again, the sweet taste of ice cream turning bitter in his mouth. The vulnerability they had just shared teetered on a knife's edge. What had she seen that made her change so quickly? Standing there, watching her step away, he wondered if the real test was yet to come. Would this moment of connection hold, or would the past claw its way back in, leaving them both shattered anew? Jack watched Maria walk away, her back stiff as she answered the call. The happy sounds of the fair faded into a dull roar around him. He could see her body language change. The relaxed demeanor that had just moments ago lit up her face was replaced by a tightness in her shoulders. For a second, the world felt like it was closing in. He shifted his weight, casting worried glances at the kids who were oblivious, still delighting in their ice cream. Jack ran a hand through his hair, uncertainty buzzing in his chest. He wanted to go to Maria, to wrap his arms around her and tell her everything would be okay. But instead, he stood there, like a statue, grappling with the weight of the moment. Suddenly, laughter erupted as a couple of kids in clown costumes raced by, and it pulled him out of his thoughts. He glanced back at Maria, half expecting her to show signs of distress, but instead, she was standing somewhat apart, her expression unreadable. All he could see was the flicker of her eyes as she spoke. After what felt like an eternity, she straightened up and ended the call. Jack could see her take a deep breath. The moment felt heavy, and he silently willed her to come back to him quickly. But instead, she started towards him, her pace slow and deliberate, as if she were holding something heavy inside. Everything okay? Jack asked, forcing a smile, hoping to spark a bit of light back into the day. Her gaze flickered to the children, then back to him. It was just my mom, she said, the pain in her voice barely masked. She's having a tough time. It's complicated. Jack's heart twinged with empathy. What can I do? A flash of vulnerability crossed her features. Just be here, she replied, her tone wavering. I don't want to drag anyone else into my chaos. The weight of her words sank in, stirring a protective instinct inside him that grew stronger with every second. We're already family, Maria. It's okay to lean on each other. She nodded, but there was a shadow behind her eyes that told him this would not be the last challenge they'd face. I'm trying to be strong, she said softly, but sometimes I feel like I'm just putting on a show. Jack took her hands in his, feeling the warmth of her skin against his. We can be strong together. You don't have to carry it all alone. But before she could respond, the piercing wail of an emergency siren sliced through the air. Universally, heads turned. People began pulling out their phones, glancing around in confusion. Jack's gut twisted at the ominous sound. Maria's expression shifted from concern to dread. I need to check on the kids. Wait. Jack grabbed her arm gently. Let us just take a minute. I can't, she insisted, her eyes darting back to where their kids were laughing and playing, unaware of the uncertainty swirling around them. I need to make sure they're safe. Things just get so unpredictable. Jack watched her go, feeling the same hollow ache for moments before creep back. Anxiety buzzed like a swarm of bees. He felt compelled to give chase, to pull her back and shield her from this world that seemed to spiral out of control, but he stayed rooted, his mind racing. If life had taught him anything, it was that storms couldn't be avoided. They had to be weathered. As the sirens continued to wail, a question buzzed in his brain: would they be prepared to face the chaos together, or would the burdens of the past tear them apart again? Uncertainty gnawed at him as he scanned the fair, searching for any sign of trouble, but he also found himself hoping that maybe, just maybe, they could discover the strength in each other amidst the turmoil. But with Maria racing away towards their children, Jack couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that this moment of joy, was just the calm before the storm. Jack's heart raced as he watched Maria dart away. The vibrant colors of the fair began to blur in his vision. Sounds of laughter and music felt distant, almost foreign. He could only see her, a silhouette against the chaos, as she rushed towards their children. Anxiety intertwined with a desperate need to protect her. He felt lost, as if he had lost a part of himself. Pushing through the milling crowds, Jack followed Maria. He scanned for the kids, desperate to reassure himself they were safe in the midst of confusion. The sirens wailed again, echoing the unease that settled over the fairgrounds. Jack swallowed hard, knowing he couldn't just stand idly by. This was about more than just Maria's mom and the looming chaos. It was about their family. That he finally spotted them, Sam and Lily giggling at a clown nearby. Relief washed over him, but it was fleeting. Maria was knelt down, her eyes darting around as if searching for something that wasn't there. The image of her crumbling beneath the weight of uncertainty tore at him. He approached, trying to maintain calm. "Hey. Everything's okay?" Jack called out as he reached them, forcing a smile that felt strained. He focused on the kids, who were oblivious, all charm and innocence. "Look at those silly clowns." But Maria just shook her head, anxiety etched across her face. I just can't concentrate. What if something's wrong? Let us take them to get some cotton candy," Jack suggested, thinking maybe a sugary distraction would help. "It'll be okay. We're here." Yet Maria's eyes remained fixed on the busy fair, her fingers gripping tightly around Sam's small wrist. "Jack, I really need to know what's happening. I can't just pretend everything's fine when I feel like the sky is falling." The weight of her words cut through him. "I get it, I do. But sometimes we need to focus on what we have right now, like this." He nodded towards Sam and Lily, them. "Just a few moments of normalcy." She hesitated, the conflict swirling in her gaze. Then, slowly, her shoulders relaxed, a tiny fraction, as she glanced down at their children. "Okay," Maria finally conceded, and Jack felt a flicker of hope spark within him. For a few minutes, they moved through the fair together, exchanging smiles and laughter, the distraction working its magic. Jack joined their kids as they tugged on his sleeves, urging him to try the carnival games with them. Maria stood back for a moment, watching as the joy resumed, like sunlight breaking through clouds. But even as Jack threw the balls, hoping to win a stuffed animal for Lily, he sensed the tension lurking beneath. Maria still fought with the tumult of thoughts. But now, he could see it too, the strength in her doubt. When Jack finally turned back to Maria, she was looking away, lost in the distance again. "What is going on in your head?" he asked, though he feared the answer. "I'm scared, Jack. What if this never ends? What if I'm a mess forever?" Her voice trembled, that vulnerability inching forward again. That he stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "You're not a mess. You're dealing with a lot right now, and that's okay. It's okay to feel messy. We'll get through this together." But as he spoke, the sirens began to wail again, more insistent this time. People's laughter quieted, and heads turned towards the source. An announcement pierced through the air, cutting through the chatter of confused voices. "Attention everyone. We ask for your cooperation as we investigate a situation nearby." Fear clawed at Jack's insides, gut instinct screaming that this was more than just a precaution. He looked back at Maria and saw her expression shift from worry to panic. "I need to know what's happening. Let us find out together," Jack urged, adrenaline surging through him. But as they started towards the noise, a sharp sound, a crack, echoed across the fair. A sudden commotion erupted. People started to scatter. Their moment of joy swiftly evaporated. Maria grabbed Jack's arm, her grip tight as anxiety flooded back. "What if? Stay close to me," he shouted over the chaos. As the crowd surged, Jack couldn't help but wonder if this was really the storm he had feared, or if there was something even darker lurking behind it all. Would they be able to unite against whatever awaited them? Would this moment break them, or reinforce the bond they were trying so hard to build? The path ahead was rocky, and they had to face it together. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as the crowd surged around them, panic palpable in the air. The laughter that had once filled the fair seemed like a figment, drowned out by shouts and the frantic movement of bodies trying to escape. He felt Maria's grip on his arm tighten, and he turned his attention back to her, seeing the raw fear etched on her face. "Listen to me," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We need to get to a safe spot somewhere we can think." With determination, he led her and the children away from the chaos, careful to avoid the bustling throngs. They ducked behind a stall selling colorful trinkets, a temporary refuge from the bedlam. Jack took a breath, trying to steel himself and the others. The world could fall apart, but he wouldn't let it happen while they were together. "Jack, what is going on?" Maria whispered, her eyes darting to the chaos outside their modest shelter. It was all-consuming, and in that moment, she looked so fragile, as if the weight of the world was pressing down on her shoulders. "I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out," he reassured her, forcing a hopeful smile despite the knot in his stomach. From their hidden spot, the sharp crack they'd heard earlier had given way to a new urgency. People were yelling, and the sirens blared, louder now, as if they were glaring directly at them. It was terrifying, and for a brief moment, Jack felt helpless as they were all just pawns in a larger game. "Mommy, are we scared?" Sam asked, his small voice trembling. Lily clung to her brother, burying her face in his side. Jack watched Maria's expression twist with emotion. "No, baby, we're just fine. We're together, and that's what matters," Maria replied, though her voice lacked conviction. Jack wanted to believe that it was true. He held on to the moment, the way the children looked at her, trusting and innocent. He glanced around, desperate for an escape route, when something caught his eye: a nearby fence that seemed less crowded than the paths leading back to the fair. "Let us go," he said, suddenly feeling a surge of clarity. "If we can make it to that fence, we might find a way out of here." With careful movements, he began guiding Maria and the kids towards the opening. The sounds of chaos faded further behind them, though the anxiety still buzzed along every nerve in Jack's body. They reached the fence as a group of entertainers appeared, trying to maintain some semblance of order by directing people away from the chaos. "Stay close to me, no matter what," he instructed, feeling more aware than ever of the precious weight of his family surrounding him. Just as they began to slip past the entertainers, a loud voice cut through the noise. "Everyone, please. Remain calm." The authority in the voice was compelling, and it gave Jack a moment's pause. "What are you going to do?" Maria whispered, panic fluttering in her tone. "Let us just see," Jack said, peering through the crowd. Something made him stop again. Voices were growing louder, urgent discussions among the workers. It felt like pieces of a dangerous puzzle were shifting around them, and then he noticed something else: a flash of red and blue lights circling the perimeter, police descending on the scene. His heart hammered. What had truly happened? Jack turned back to Maria, who was scanning the crowd hungrily for answers, but also for a direction to run. The reprieve of a few moments of calm slipped further away. "What if they don't find out what's wrong?" Maria finally said, breathless. "What if it's bigger than we think?" "We'll find out together," Jack responded firmly. "We're not leaving each other, no matter what." Just as he finished his promise, a pair of officers strode toward them, their expressions serious. Jack's heart dropped. Had they spotted him? Did they know about the fear swirling just beneath their facade? As they drew closer, Jack wondered if what happened next would lead them to safety, or pull them deeper into the escalating storm. What truly lay beyond the crowd? Would the truth show them the way home, or would it shatter their already fragile world? The officers approached, their presence demanding attention. Jack saw the steely resolve in their eyes, but also an urgent compassion. "Everyone needs to stay alert," one officer announced, his voice steady above the growing din. "We are investigating a situation involving a potential threat. Please remain calm and follow our instructions." Maria's breath hitched, her grip tightening around Sam and Lily. Jack met her gaze, feeling the weight of uncertainty and fear merge with determination. "We'll get through this together," he murmured, more for her sake than his. She nodded, visibly bracing herself, preparing to face whatever came next. "Is there a safe route out of here?" Jack called out to the officers, who were scanning the area with focused intensity. One officer looked at him, his face softening slightly. "We're working on it, sir. For now, let us keep all families together. Stay close, and we'll guide everyone out in an orderly manner." Jack felt a rush of gratitude. It was a small ray of hope amid the darkness. "Let us stay with them," he said to Maria, his voice firm. "We'll follow their lead." They huddled together, Jack forming a protective barrier around Maria and the kids, his heart pounding with every step. As they moved with the crowd, Jack couldn't help but glance down at the beaming faces of Sam and Lily, who remained blissfully unaware of the chaos around them. They were so innocent, and every laugh and giggle felt like a tether to the simple joys of life that Jack wanted to protect at all costs. Eventually, they reached a quieter section of the fairgrounds, distanced from the fear that had gripped the earlier scene. A ring of volunteers helped guide families toward a temporary shelter set up in the community center just off the fair. The kids, sensing the shift, let out soft sighs, their energy still intact but curiosity starting to sway. "Are we okay now, Mommy?" Sam asked, looking up at Maria with wide eyes filled with innocent confusion. Maria knelt down, brushing a stray hair from his forehead. "Yes, sweetie. We're okay. We're together, and that's what matters," she reassured him, her voice steadier now. Jack felt a surge of pride watching her. She was fiercely protective. Once inside the building, an air of calmness began to settle. Families crowded into the large hall, children exploring the space, laughter bubbling up despite the earlier distress. Jack took a moment to catch his breath. He looked over at Maria, who still had a semblance of worry etched on her face. "Hey," he said, leaning closer, "you did great out there. You're so strong." Maria's lips curled into an awkward smile, but he could see the weight in her eyes. "I wasn't sure if we'd make it," she admitted, her voice a whisper. It just felt like everything could collapse again at any moment. Jack reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "But we did make it, didn't we? Together. I'm here, and I won't run away. We're building something worth fighting for." Her gaze shifted, uncertainty glimmering under the surface. What if that fighting requires facing more storms? What if we're never free from it? Jack drew in a deep breath, feeling the truth of her words sink deep into his conscience. Life will always throw us challenges. But I want you to know, I'm here to face them with you. I want to build something real for us, for the kids. Just then, Lily rushed over, clutching a small stuffed animal. "Look, Mommy. I won it." Her bright smile chased the shadows from Maria's face. In that moment, Maria's expression transformed, a flicker of joy illuminating her features. She knelt down, pulling Lily into a tight hug. Jack marveled at the power of small victories, of simple moments stitched together through family love. It reminded him why he had come to Willow Creek, why he had become Jake. "It's time for ice cream again, right?" Jack chimed in, attempting to keep the buoyant spirit alive. He watched as Maria chuckled, the sound warm and comforting. "All right, we'll make this moment last," Maria said, her confidence reinstated. Together, they walked toward a nearby refreshment station, laughter and chatter swirling around them. As they reached the counter, a sense of ease settled in, and Jack felt the resilience of family bloom amidst the unpredictability of life. Somehow, the thoughts of confrontations faded, and the essence of togetherness emerged. They truly were building something beautiful from the rubble of fear and uncertainty. As they gathered their ice cream and returned to the hall, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. They were woven back together, stronger, but the threads of their past would always linger. Yet as long as they embraced each other and kept moving forward, they could weave a future every day a new experience, every laughter reclaiming their joy. In the heart of chaos, they had found their strength. And no matter the storms, a unified front could weather anything. Together, Jack murmured, squeezing Maria's hand gently, aware that this shared belief would help them steer through any rough waters ahead. "Always together," she replied, her eyes sparkling with that newfound light, bright enough to push through the darkest nights. As they moved forward, the path ahead looked promising, painted with love, trust, and a seal of hope for a brighter tomorrow. The fair's energy surged back to life as families began finding joy again. Jack knew they were on their way to a transformative journey filled with love, not just as individuals, but as a family. And it was time for them to fully embrace it. Now, more than ever, Jack felt ready to fight for this love and nourish the dreams that awaited them on the horizon. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. It's the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.